Hey everyone, welcome back to Nerd to Know Media on Phoenix FM 92.5 FM. And this is a very loaded crew this week. Of course, I am Brian, but I am joined by my co-hosts. Introduce yourself, guys.
Dara O'Connor.
Straight out of Canto.
Oh.
Who's next?
Me, Kevin Coffee.
And Katie from Mannequin Blue.
Awesome. So, how are we doing, guys?
Yeah, decent.
Yeah, pretty good.
Grand, yep, perfect.
We are doing.
Lockdown living,
Yeah.
guys. Lockdown
Fine.
living.
Yeah. I feel like it's like that line from Futurama, just it makes sense now, where it's like, existing is basically all I do.
How would you describe your day? Surviving.
I'd love to help, but I am already in my pajamas.
literally. That's it. It's like, oh,
I haven't gotten out of my pajamas.
So see, here's the thing, right? I work from home, right? Before this started. So at Christmas, I was like, listen, I don't want anything. Just buy me loads of pajamas. And now I'm like, who was thinking ahead? And I'm just like,
Fulfilled.
it's just like, I literally have like a wardrobe full of pajamas. I'm like, man, these were work clothes, but now they're just normal clothes.
You are living the dream.
Prep for the storm.
Exactly.
The only way you could have been more prepared for the stars if you actually if you put money into to stocks for Zoom. So.
I wish I did that. That's the one thing where I'm like, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
Stocks for Zoom and canned food.
No, I have canned food. We're good.
Toilet paper.
No, bidets, because apparently bidets are where it's at. Where I remember living in Italy and they're like bidets are all over the place, and I was like, man, they're super cool. I'm gonna come back and get one, and now I'm like, I should have pushed harder for a bidet. or bidet as it's spelled. But guys, listen,
a garden hose and a private hedge. You're sorted.
I have too many
Private
dogs.
hedge.
They would be like, what are you doing?
That is the traveler's way,
It is. But look, right, so there's a lot going on, right, in the world. But as far as, like, nerd stuff, everything is just kind of getting slowly cancelled and moved forward. So, like, there every time I open up the newsfeed now, I'm like, okay, all it is stuff being cancelled and stuff being moved forward or back. So let's start off the show with some good news.
I've got one.
Well, hold on, beforehand, we're doing a panel.
Are we?
We're officially doing a panel, and it's the first ever that I know of. Lisa, if I'm wrong here, forgive me. It's an anime lockdown panel. It's an anime lockdown panel, and it's going to be on the bank holiday weekend, or I suppose normal time weekend, as it is. I don't know. Bank holiday.
The lockdown weekend.
Lockdown weekend.
Yeah, it's a weekend now.
Exactly.
What a novelty!
What a novelty! A day off. So it's that weekend, the May 1st to 3rd, and we don't know the full details yet, but we are doing a panel, and we're doing it on, like, there's two panels. Straya Canto's doing her panel, and we're doing a panel for Nerd to Know Media on Doki Doki Literature Club, the dating sim nightmare. So we're excited. A couple of you guys haven't played it yet, and I'm like really excited for you guys to play it because I think you'll have a great time.
Can't wait to hear what you guys think of it. It's fascinating.
In my defense, I'm like, I don't do horror at all. I love surreal monster movies, but like I can't do horror, so I've been slowly working my way up to it by playing Little Nightmares, and I can only do that in like 5-minute increments.
Oh god.
Then, like this is a different sort of horror than most horror games.
There's no jump scares as such.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
It's much more kind of an existential. Sort of horror.
Oh, I can do that.
You will have like existential crises after playing it, but
sounds like my life.
We're all having existential crises right now.
Fair, so it works. So
I'm gonna be right at home.
But what I would say is, it's we haven't pieced together yet, obviously, but I think when we do, it's going to be super fun. I'm excited to see how the actual thing runs, because it's going to be all on Twitch. Anyone who's interested, keep an eye on our social media, because when we find out, we'll put up the information. But clear your weekend, because it's going to be like a whole list of panels and stuff going on as well.
Clear your quarantine weekend.
Exactly. Just go to Twitch and it'll all be there. Lisa, what is your panel about?
They've accepted my horror and Pokemon panel. So that's
I
kind
love
of
that.
that's kind of straight out of Kanto's signature panel. But obviously, I've done the panel a lot at different conventions. But each time I do it, it's something different. So for Quarantine Con, I'm obviously gonna hopefully try and come up with some stuff maybe that I haven't discussed before, or look into things that kind of haven't been as like, because I'm sick to death of the Lavender Town syndrome. Anybody who knows anything about me is sick to death of the Lavender Town syndrome. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely come up with something special for Anime Con.
Can I put something in the bowl?
Oh, do stir
Yeah.
that bowl.
Because like it's you have to figure a way how to do that like virtually though. That's the thing. Be like, how can I do this? And like do a randomizer maybe.
Oh yeah, you can do you can put like names into a generator and it randomizes and picks one.
Yeah, I totally do that because that's like I remember when we saw your panel, I was like, oh, it's such a good idea. So excited
Oh,
to
the
see it.
names out of a hat thing. Yeah, that was the first and only and last time I ever did that.
Oh, such a good idea. Because the turnout for that was great. I'm kind of like I like one thing about like doing panels and stuff like that. It's like the interactivity with the crowd. I don't know how they're going to do that virtually, but I'm sure we'll find out.
It's going to be hard to try and for all the panels that are attending that weekend. It's going to be hard to kind of find a way that it's not like a lecture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
or just like
that's the thing.
Talking.
Yeah.
I did see on their site though that they're going to talk about how they're going to work out some kind of a way for the audience to participate with the panelists through questions in advance or something like that. I'm not sure.
Well, I think if they do that and you have it on Twitch, there'll be the good Twitch chat there anyway. So
yeah, they do they stream comments or something, don't they?
Yeah, so everything you do, it's a live chat. So like we were doing the rewind there like 2 weeks ago, and literally in the middle of the talk, someone was like, "Hey, who are your top favorite 3 wrestlers of all time?" And we're like, "Oh, we never thought about this before." Okay,
let's open it up to the floor.
Yeah, so it's I think that's what will happen. But like obviously, when we know, we'll let you guys know, and we'll pop everything we can over on the YouTube channel anyway. So just keep an eye on the social media, and we'll go from there, I suppose. But yeah, sorry, that's the good news, Bryn. Sorry for cutting across you. What's your happy story of the week?
So there was a new director announced for the next Doctor Strange film.
Oh yes.
Ooh, I did hear about this.
And it's Sam Raimi.
Perfect.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it makes me very, very happy because
I had all but clocked out of the MCU up to this point, but now I'm probably going to go see this Doctor Strange movie.
See, I was going to see this movie anyway because it's apparently the first straight horror movie that they're doing for the MCU. So I was like, oh, and I love Doctor Strange anyway. But yeah, like you, Kev, I've kind of checked out the MCU like almost completely. But this had me, just to tip in.
The title alone is enough to like raise some is enough to raise curiosity.
Yeah, what's it? It's the Moons of Madness.
The multiverse of madness. And like, yeah, it's enough to make you go,
Okay,
this sounds pretty good.
Interest.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, like the first director for Doctor Strange also has like a good background in horror, and he's going to be producer on it still.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Oh,
so
I was definitely a big fan of like the visual direction in Doctor Strange, and it's one of the more kind of standout of that run up through Endgame that I think I would have picked out.
Yeah,
like the visual direction on it was really, really interesting. So if they kind of follow on from that with a more horror style, I'd be really interested to see what they do with that.
What's interesting about the first movie is the director, like, he directed one of the worst films I've ever seen, but also like some of my favorites and some guilty pleasures. So he did Hellraiser Inferno, which is not good. Don't watch it.
Is that the one in space?
No, that's one of the original Hellraiser. No, not the original ones. I think it's the 4th one.
I think it's either the 4th or the 5th.
Yeah, Hellraiser Inferno was one of the more recent ones.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no, a Hellraiser retrospective at some of the crazy ones would be a lot of fun.
Just don't watch any Hellraiser past 3.
Yeah, no, do, but for different reasons. So Hellraiser 3 is the one in space, I think.
No, it's not.
No, Bloodline. Sorry, Bloodline. Hellraiser 4 Bloodline.
I'm telling you, there was a day where we sat down and we just binge watched all of the Hellraisers, and at one point, like, I think I looked up and I was like, how did we even get here? What are we doing anymore?
I never watched the Hellraiser movies until I was like well into adulthood, and I watched 1, 2, and 3 in a row, and I felt kind of sick. And I'm like, I feel kind of
desired defect.
But on that point, then I start watching the crazy ones after it, and I'm like, these are hilarious. My personal favorite one is I think it's Hell World. Yeah, my favorite one is Hell World from 2005. That's
Oh no.
it's ridiculous. And who's in it? I think Superman's in it. The guy who played Superman's in it.
Not the
Yeah.
actor, the
Pinhead
character.
v Superman.
Henry Cavill's in it. Henry Cavill's actually in it, and the major plot point is Nokia 3310.
Goodness.
So it's fantastic. But no, the one in space, I just look it up there. It's Bloodline. That's when they're making the thing.
There was something about a princess, and I at that point I had checked out. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. But no, like I'd say, Lisa, following up on your point, like if it is like, you know, if you're looking for the pure horror movie, don't watch it after like 4 because it just gets ridiculous. But
Just read that. I know my limitations. I love Hellraiser too much to want to watch it past the 3rd movie.
But what I'd say is, you know, Hellraiser, Hellworld, it's brilliant. I love it so much. My favorite one because it's so ridiculous. But yeah, he directed Hellraiser Inferno, which comes just after Bloodline, so it's when it gets like really ridiculous. So it's the 5th one. And I wasn't a fan of it, but he did do Exorcism of Emily Rose, which I liked a lot. He did the first Sinister, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
He did Deliver Us from Evil, which has its moments as well.
Yeah.
And then he did Doctor Strange. So he has a very good horror pedigree, Scott Derrickson. So it seems like Doctor Strange opens itself up more to this kind of like horror experience rather than.
Which is strange considering the first one really doesn't feel like it has any horror fingerprints in it.
Is it Doctor Strange?
It has moments though, because it has some bits where you're like, oh, this is kind of, you know, like the visual storytelling of it.
Yeah, no, like the surrealism of it kind of, but I don't know, like I just didn't get any horror vibes from it.
I think the closest thing to the horror that you got out of it was like the specific visual used for Dorma.
Yes, exactly.
That's kind of it. But I think if they go more in the direction of trying to make it more of a visual horror experience, you know, considering the visual influences that they took on board, things could get really visually intense really quickly.
Well, here's the thing. One thing that they've already hinted on, guys. Sorry for cutting cautious there, but they've been dropping a lot of hints along and some shorts of Marvel Zombies.
Zombies.
Oh, right.
Marvel Zombies.
They have,
I've read one or two of them. They're ridiculous.
But not only do you have you read them, but if you watched the last Spider-Man movie, Iron Man is a zombie in one of the sequences. They've also done some animated series that they hint at last year's Comic-Con where Captain America is a zombie.
Ooh.
You know what they could do here is, you know, if Doctor Strange is going around the multiverse, he could end up in that timeline. So I'm very excited to see what they do here because it opens it up completely. Yeah. So because I was completely checked out and also as well, if they're opening up the multiverse, that's how you bring Spider-Man full circle with edges.
And Deadpool. They did promise Deadpool.
They did promise Deadpool. They promised it for a while. So yeah, I'm excited. Like overall, you know, I think the MCU is what it is, but I think with this, it's definitely way more exciting. So yeah, good catch, Brian.
Yeah. The only other thing on that kind of the MCU side of things that I saw come up was John Krasinski, who's most known from The Office as Jim.
Oh, Quiet Place.
And The Quiet Place. He's been in talks with Marvel. People don't know exactly. Reed Richards is what John Krasinski wants to play himself. There's no information
he would
to
be
confirm
so
it.
good.
Yes, he would.
He would be perfect.
But I mean, he could easily be going into direct.
I don't think so. I know, dude. I think they hard want a good Fantastic Four movie.
Yep, I'm sure they do. But I mean, the track record is that hasn't happened ever. So
I think that he could direct and star, and it would be great.
Totally could. Like I think the fact that he's even getting talks is exciting. Yep. Like there's not that many actors that haven't been in Marvel films that would attract me to see a Marvel film at this point. But he's definitely one of the few people on that short list. So,
yeah, I would go see for Krasinski. I love him so much.
It's crazy though because he auditioned for Captain America, and it would be cool after all this time for him to finally be in an MCU film.
Yeah, I mean,
So
like as much as I love him, I don't think that he would have been the Captain America.
no,
You know, it
I
just
think
doesn't have that look about him.
yeah, I think Chris Evans pulled it out of the bag though. Like,
Yeah.
which is
Actually-
incredible. He was as good a Captain America as he was a bad Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm.
Actually, I did watch because what's it? Caravan of Garbage on YouTube. They've been going back through the Fantastic Four movies recently.
Yeah.
And I actually did watch.
There was only one.
No, well,
no, the second one, Doug Jones. Yeah.
You mean the 90s one?
the night. Actually, the documentary. What's it called? I have it here in front of me. The story of Roger Corman.
Roger Corbin.
Robert Corbin's Fantastic Four is a great documentary. Do watch it. It's better than the movie. But it's hard to get. I had to order from America. Anyway, long story short. But yeah, I never watched The Silver Surfer before until the other day, and I was like, this actually isn't terrible. And then it gets terrible. But the Caravan the Garbage, they were going through it, and yeah, man, the whole series they just really messed up.
Yeah, but I mean, the Fantastic Four is one of those things that's been tried so many times and has never really worked. So it's just a bit strange that I mean, it'll be really excited to see who the MCU cast.
Yeah.
For it, but it's, I mean, at this point, and I would still always go with a level of skepticism because it's one of the few superhero groups that's verbatim never worked.
Yeah,
you know. So
yeah,
they need kind of someone like that, you know, and it's just he looks like him.
Yeah,
literally.
Absolutely.
You can just you put the silver streak on the side of his head, and you can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is a controversial opinion or not, but for me growing up, the Fantastic Four were never really that strong of a group. Even in the comic books or the cartoons, they always needed someone else with them.
But you see, I think the cultural impact for that team, because at one point they were massively important, but I mean, the idea of the nuclear family, by the time it got to the 90s, was such a passé idea because it was just so common for people to have divorced parents.
And
it never came off as idealized.
No.
But at that point as well, by the time that I was a kid growing up, we had, the Hulk, which was, again, another radioactive superhero.
Yep.
And that was way more, they kind of pushed that more than the Fantastic Four, I think.
Yeah.
But the Fantastic Four also filled this really, really needed role of being support characters for everyone else.
In the comics, they always were more interesting as people you go to for, for example, if Peter Parker had a problem, he'd usually go to the Fantastic Four and be like, hey, what do I do? Or whatever, if he couldn't get out to the X-Men. And that's what it kind of felt like. And they were always a lot stronger in groups like the Illuminati and stuff and then Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom in general, it was always more interesting just being Doctor Doom.
I think he'd be the one I'd want to see them introduced, because you can't really have one without the other. Yeah.
Actually, you know what they do?
Actually, the most anticipated thing I'd take from a Fantastic Four movie.
And you know what they could do? Since they already have, Mads Mikkelsen is who I'd want to play Doctor Doom, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Big guess.
But he was already in Doctor Strange. Now, go with me here. If they're doing Doctor Strange the multiverse, they could just have Mads Mikkelsen as Doctor Doom and just be like, different universe.
Well, I mean, they don't even have to explain it because they recast constantly.
Yeah.
And they have Captain America was Johnny Storm. All this kind of stuff where they have actors playing different characters and they don't explain it. They could literally just cast him and be like, this is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
He's wearing a metal mask most of the time. It's not like anyone's going to notice.
Exactly.
There's this subreddit I follow that just puts out deliberate, intentionally bad movie detail points, and one of them was was talking about in Iron Man 2. Tony Stark doesn't notice that his best friend Rhodey has completely changed.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And therefore, it's very clear that Tony Stark is actually a racist. It's so good.
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, look, speaking of the MCU, we don't want to turn this into an MCU show as such, but all the movies that were supposed to come out have been moved back. Yeah. So Black Widow, which was supposed to drop later on this 2 or 3 months, is now November.
Yep.
Eternals is 2021 February. Shang-Chi and the Legends of Ten Rings is May 2021. Untitled Spider-Man Far From Home sequel, July 2021. July 2021. Doctor Strange, November the 5th, 2021, and Thor, the movie which we won't talk about, is 2022.
If it's any consolation, you can stream the new Trolls movie now.
You know what? I actually really wanted to see that movie, but I'm not going to pay €20 for it. It's not happening.
You know
It's
what?
like €18 or something wild like that.
Yeah,
It
that's
has
crazy.
the McElroys in it, so I'm actually halfway interested.
Do you know what though? Like the first Trolls movie was one of those movies that, because I had to watch it for work, like market research.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
the kids were always asking me to like paint trolls or make trolls out of balloons or whatever. So I had to watch it, and I sat there and I went, "Oh wow, this is surprisingly delightful."
That's what I figured it was going to be like. And I'm like, this actually looks pretty good. And I have a Cineworld card, but I'm like, I'll be damned if I'm going to pay £20 for it. It's just not happening.
Yeah, no.
So, I was just like, here's what they should do, right? And now, obviously, you can't because it costs minutes. It's like these places have their streaming services. Just sell them to Netflix or Disney, and then put premium on top of it. It's like
That's kind of what's happening as well, though, because like there was the Artemis Fowl film that's supposed to come out.
Yeah.
That's going straight to Disney Plus now.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yep. Which is like, I mean, they had trailers running for that for a good 8 or 9 months by this point. For them to just go, yeah, it's going straight to. It's going
But I
straight
think
to Disney Plus.
with the whole social distancing thing, a lot more is going to be going straight to stream rather than cinema.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'd be amazed if the cinema industry even survives this.
Actually, AMC just went bankrupt there. In the States. Yeah, so I was watching Midnight Edge. We're doing a thing on it. So it's yeah, man, that's crazy that happened. But I think we're going to see like a complete change of the way this was done. Like this whole industry is going to have to change, and it probably will just go streaming. Like I don't know about you guys, but for me, cinema is still an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that over dinner when we were just watching the news over dinner, and the ad for Trolls, the streaming came up, and my mum was just like, "Oh, what's going to happen now? Are they going to do that with all the movies? Are all the movies just going to be streamed now on TV rather than cinema? Are people still going to want to go?" And I'm like, no. People will still want to go for the whole experience, the popcorn, the big screen, the whole kind of midnight previews for things. But then whether or not they're going to be able to is another thing. Because while in theory, you could social distance in terms of, put a couple of spaces of seats between people, but then they'll have to jack up the prices of tickets, and there's just a whole thing of whether or not it's just going to be easier for the film distributors to put them straight out as streaming, or are they just going to cut out the middleman of cinema?
One of the things that's coming through, though, as well, is like really interesting stories where some cinemas in the States have started doing it, where they've turned the parking lots for their multiplexes into drive-in cinemas.
Oh wow!
Where they've just put big sheets in front of the the building, and like just do like takeout orders.
Lads, we're going back to the 50s.
But
that is amazing. I like it. Our new 50s overlords.
Like there was I know when I was in a few years ago in Cork, they used to have this what do they call it now? They used to have this drive-in cinema where basically you just tune your radio.
Yeah, they still have those. I went to one of those over Christmas.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, stuff like that is like, it's actually a really cool way to watch it, and it's also like for social distancing. I could see that kind of become the way that cinemas are done if people are enterprising enough to think of it.
Or at least a way for them to kind of build back up to a secure business model.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like it's going to change the way things are done, but that doesn't, it's kind of forcing everyone to adapt, and if you don't adapt, it's going to be wiped out. And I think this kind of stuff will survive, but not in its current form, which sucks, but it is what it is. I think you're right, Lisa, that the cinema experience is unlike anything else. And look, no matter how big your TV is, no matter what you have, people still like the cinema.
There's nothing like it. I find I get distracted from just even sitting watching a movie kind of on my own.
Yeah.
Or you're on your
distracted
phone.
in a way I don't. Yeah. Distracted in a way that I don't get in when I'm sitting in the cinema, because when I'm in that cinema like screen, I mentally know I'm here to watch this movie.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah.
It's
But
fair.
it's that same thing of like, if you go off to the theater to watch a play, it's that same thing of going off to do anything publicly where you're just more involved in it by going and doing it.
Yeah.
And
Like there is the kind of thing with like I see this being less impacted in something like gigs, because gigs aren't going to happen probably until next year,
Yeah.
which sucks. But with cinemas, you really can like adapt that change in a certain way where it gets more scope. But in the immediate short term, setting up some kind of deals where you pay an extra $5 a month for Netflix or Disney to get that movie, to me makes sense. But not even, you don't want to lose the millions of dollars that would happen. But again, either lose millions of dollars or else the movie's not coming out.
Yeah.
But it just
Kind of
is what it
6
is.
of one, half a dozen of the other.
Exactly, but from what I hear, a lot of production houses are upset, or distributing houses are upset because of what the Troll movie did, where they're like, "Oh, you just cut us out, okay, but we're not going to host this movie in future."
Yeah.
So it's a lot more complex than just, to put them on the streaming service. But what?
And as well, just with content, sorry, just
Okay.
just even things like TV shows and even things like Coronation Street and Emmerdale and any movies, everybody's kind of got their stock content that they've built up, but they were even saying recently, just this week on the news, they're like, we're going to run out of stuff to air. We only have so much kind of safeguarded way. If you guys want anything new on Netflix or even new movies to stream, they're going to have to lift restrictions soon because they're physically running out of things to kind of release.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's like it's the opposite of what we're having with WWE, where they got a government exemption.
Yeah.
As an essential service.
Essential sport now or something.
Yeah, so it's just like that's the opposite.
It just took a truckload of money to get that exemption.
But even when you're watching it though, right, it's like an empty arena, so it feels really weird. So it's like, okay, if just taking that model onto something like Emmerdale, how are they going to shoot that on a hand cam? Like, it's just, you won't be able to have extras there, and it's just. It changes.
On an iPhone, two people talking 10 feet away from each other.
Exactly. It's just it doesn't work, so they're gonna have to find some way to make that work. But it's like, even with TV now, you're like, right, what can you do? Okay, we're just gonna show box sets, or whatever. So eventually, new content is gonna be, perfect example to break our nerd rule in the sports ball world. What's happening now is they're just showing people playing games, like literal video games, and that's their games, and they're doing it like real content. And also with NASCAR in the States, they have fake NASCAR where they're actually like just playing the game like it's real.
Oh dear.
Incredible.
And it's just like, this is the world we live in now, where
we are becoming that cyberpunk dystopia.
We are becoming a cyberpunk dystopia without all the cool stuff we were promised, like green Linux terminals everywhere, dust coats.
Where's the synthwave
Where's
revolution,
the synth music? The synthwave revolution is happening if you look for it. Irvin Power or whatever. Can't remember his full name, but there's some cool stuff there if you go looking for it. But
oh no, I'm finding synthwave. But where is it like all the time?
All the time, yeah. It's just like we got like a really bland version of the apocalypse we were promised. We're going to turn into Demolition.
Neon glow,
right?
Yeah.
It's going to be Demolition Man by the time where this is all over.
I hope everybody's practicing the 3 seashells.
Exactly. We're going to finally figure out how they're used. Although, to be fair, I'm in that movie in the form of Dennis Leary. That's me. So I'm like, the future does not look good for me if we end up that way. So it's just like, and Bryn will tell you that. So it's just what it is. Yeah. So look, on the good part about it, if anyone has a PlayStation right now, they're giving out free games. So the Uncharted series is there, the full Uncharted series and Journey. So it's all part of this Play at Home initiative, which is very, very kind of weird to see that they're all just giving away free stuff. There's some good bonuses. Some good bundles up on Humble Bundle. You can get Spec Ops: The Line for €1. Get Spec Ops: The Line. It's the best game you've never played. And
I'm really annoyed now because I spent a whole €4 on it on Steam.
You're going to be more annoyed because WWE 2K20 is part of this bundle as well.
Ah, damn it.
Yeah, I know. For anyone
I'm good for a while. I just bought Tropico 5 and all 3 Darksiders games.
Oh, nice. Tropico's
Nice.
fantastic. I love Darksiders, but yeah, no,
I've
like
never played Darksiders. I've
Really?
seen the first two, so I know they're kind of Zelda-y, but very dark.
The
yeah, they're good.
first one is. The second one's a bit more Diablo-y, dungeon crawlery.
Yeah.
The first two games are absolutely brilliant.
And
They're
then I've
bangers.
heard that the third one is like very Dark Souls.
The
Yeah.
third one's Dark Souls, but it's also real jank.
Yeah,
Ooh, jank.
they like finished it and then kind of were like, oh, let's add this to it, and then broke the game. But it's like,
Yay!
yeah. But look, what I
I've
say,
heard though, I haven't actually played it yet, but I've heard that the new one they made, Genesis, is actually really good. It's a top-down
That's
dungeon crawler.
the prequel one.
Yeah, I've heard that actually while it's not very like the rest of the series, it is still a really, really good like dungeon crawler game.
Yeah, I had glanced at it in the marketplace and watched the trailer and stuff, and I was just like, this is not what I need right now.
but what I will say is, fair play to the companies that are running this, because there are a bunch of good deals. Humble Bundle's always really good, but lately their deals have been fantastic. Like the 2K deal is great. There's good work remote software, which I'm really glad. There's one in particular which I'm glad I didn't pay for, like the full price that's there, and even Fanical. If you want to get Jackbox games and mystery bundles, you can there as well. But even on the
Oh.
PlayStation Store, and I think you have an Xbox, Katie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what are the deals? I haven't got an Xbox, so what are the deals like on that? Are they decent? Or?
Well, they just ended, so they did a quarantine deal, and then I think it was like a week later they did an Easter sale, and the Easter sale was actually pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, like
the
I got
PlayStation one's
all
good too.
no, it's not a major deal or anything, but I got like all 3 Darksiders games for €30.
That's not bad.
That's very good.
That's really
Yeah,
not
and
bad,
that's including all the DLCs.
Oh wow.
That's really good. That's really, really good.
Like
Now,
it's
when I saw sorry there, Dara.
it's okay. It's okay.
What I saw when I saw the PlayStation one about the 2 free games, it actually feels like they thought about it.
Yeah.
Considering the 2 titles, because like Uncharted is one of the flagship series of the PlayStation now, and that's 3 games in the one. And then the fact that they paired that with Journey, so it feels like they're actually making sure that these are games people actually want.
Yeah.
So if you're not into the action adventure, here's a real soothing kind of melancholic game.
And it comes on the heels for anyone who's PlayStation Plus member. They gave away the newest Uncharted as well at the beginning of the month.
Oh wow!
So
they've-
like if you have the PlayStation Plus, you're basically getting all the 4 Uncharted games for free.
Yeah, which is pretty sound, Now, sadly, I hate Uncharted, and I hate those kind of games. So I'm like, oh, good words. But for anyone who likes them, that's a good deal. So yeah, look, the world might be on fire, but at least we got some games. So that's just the worst thing ever.
We had our fun.
Yeah, it is.
Let me tell you guys, if you want a game for like exactly this type of for this exact scenario, I have been spending morning till night the past week playing Persona 5 The Royal.
Oh, good choice.
Oh my god, this
Good
game
choice.
has consumed my life. See, because it's a 100-hour RPG, but what I've realized is it runs on a day-to-day calendar in the game, so it's giving me the illusion that I'm actually achieving things in a day. Haven't decided if that's good for me or not, but it's oh my god, like if you want an absolute time sink, I cannot recommend it enough. Absolutely brilliant.
Or hardcore RPGs are your kind of like go-to for stuff like that. Like it's I have Persona 5. I haven't touched it yet. It's still in its wrapping, but I will. I have some time off from working the bank holiday Easter, so I'm like, today I did what I always do when I have time off. I'm like, I'm gonna do loads, and I didn't. So I have another 2 days and then the weekend. So I'm endeavoring to kind of get into more gaming because I spent most of the last time, as we talked on last week's show, Bryn, playing 2K20, and that's an experience.
Man, 2K20 is infuriating.
Yeah. It's a broken game with the worst story ever, but also the most engaging story ever. You guys would love it.
It's like that story is like the epitome of a mixed bag of a story. It's got it's basically got like one story that's outside of how it ends is really, really well told. And then has another story that's awful, except for some beats that are really good. And then that's it.
Yeah,
it's so annoying.
It's crazy. We talked about it a lot last week, and it's just mad. I'm still annoyed that I spent so much time on it. But it's just what it is. Like,
but annoyingly, you couldn't stop playing it either.
no, you couldn't. Like, it's like, I don't know if you guys have watched Tiger King yet. Have you guys seen it yet?
Seen
That's
parts of
Carol
it.
Baskins.
Right. Actually, my parents are watching it downstairs. Once we finish, I'm going to rejoin them because I'm on episode 5 and haven't finished it. But this story's like that, where
It's a
so
train wreck and you can't stop watching.
exactly. Well, for example, on this point, right? It's like you literally go to hell to fight an undead wizard.
What?
Yeah, and then at the same time you fight a possessed girl who's in The Exorcist, and then it jumps forward into the future where The Rock is the president. You wrestle him in the Royal Rumble, and then someone tries to murder you legitimately with a robot arm.
Hold on, this is a wrestling game?
Yeah.
What game
Yes.
is this?
Exactly.
Had plot lines.
Exactly.
He's
This
trying
is amazing.
Yeah.
What is this?
He's
Right,
trying to murder you because you got him fired 7 years ago, and now he's wants
God.
revenge
with his robot arm that he got.
He replaced his arm with a robot arm purely for revenge.
This is the WWE.
This is the most recent
Yes, it
WWE
is.
game. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
The character they chose to have this motivation for is absolutely killing it as well in his voice performance. It's awesome just to see him be so crazy is worth it.
Where have I been? Because I haven't played a WWE game since the first Xbox, and now they're adding wizards.
Oh, wow.
You see, the reason why they did this
The
is right.
Undertaker is a wizard.
Yeah, exactly. The reason why they did this is right. The game is broken, and they knew the game. Like, for example, like you go near the ropes and the whole game glitches and you get caught in the ropes.
Yeah.
So it's a broken game, but they knew they had a broken game. So instead, they put on the craziest story you'll ever see in a well, probably in general, but definitely in a wrestling game, and it's so incredibly mesmerizing that you can't stop playing it. And it's the only thing I can equate it to is watching Tiger King.
It's like, what's going to happen next?
Exactly, yeah.
Tiger King of wrestling games.
Oh, it's so good.
I walked in, I think it was the last episode of Tiger King because my dad was watching it. And they were interviewing this guy. He must have been like he testified or something. And he was like, do I regret what I did? Yeah. Would I do anything differently? Probably. And then it just cuts to him on a jet ski.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear there's going to be a spin-off now following, like it's going to be all about where Carol's husband is?
They're doing a movie as well.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, I think they're petitioning David Spade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, lads, listen. That woman is guilty as sin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. She's so guilty. It's unreal.
The investigation for her husband is reopened as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, to be fair, he disappeared and nobody knows where he went. She owns tigers. That's where he disappeared.
I mean, to be fair, a tiger wouldn't need a human body unless you covered it in sardine oil.
Yeah.
Or barbecue.
She knows. So,
She knows.
I mean...
it's like, have you guys seen The Staircase?
No.
Oh my God, guys, watch The Staircase. The Staircase is brilliant. Seriously, watch The Staircase. It's on Netflix. It's the guy who taught the lawyer in How Getting Away with Murder or How to Make a Murder. He's in it, and it's all about this crazy case where your man's wife dies, but he also had a wife that died 20 years ago, and they're like, oh, you totally did it, but he's a gay author. And they're like, oh, we want to get him because he's gay or whatever. And then and then you're watching it and you're like, okay, I understand that. But then through the whole series, you're like, yeah, this guy's really guilty. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, he isn't guilty. And it turns out that his wife was actually killed by an owl. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So do watch it. Because you're like, it takes you on this roller coaster where you're like, he's
owls.
An owl, a barn owl attacked her, yeah. And it's a whole big thing on Reddit as well, but you should watch it because it takes you on this crazy roller
Jesus
coaster.
Christ.
I'm sorry, but how do you
It's like Hedwig gone wrong.
Yeah, like this is the thing, and
Hedwig goes wild.
because you're watching it and you're like, okay, this guy's guilty, and then you're like, actually no, he's not guilty. The artist out to get him, and then the owl thing pops up, and you're like, well, that answers all the questions.
It raises further questions.
Seriously,
The owl did it.
the owl did it, and there's a whole big thing on Reddit where they're breaking it down and they're doing recreations of it, and they're like, yeah, the owl did it.
I don't know why, but it just reminds me of The Simpsons, where it's like nobody suspects the butterfly.
The butterfly.
But here's the best thing.
Man.
I actually, me and my friend were at the meeting of this guy from the staircase. It was in City Hall, and he's like, okay, and now it's time to get to what we all wanted, the L. He starts breaking down the L. This is like, this is insane. It's so good.
It's reminding me of like the scene in the IT Crowd where he's trying to figure out how your one burned down in a water park. That's matchstick figures like
diagram and everything.
Or Futurama, and Zoidberg's house is underwater and it burns down. And then he finds a cigar.
That just raises further questions. Oh.
Yeah, so look, if you like Tiger King, which I haven't met one person that doesn't like the Tiger King because it's so crazy. Watch The Staircase. I guarantee you'll have a great time, and then go straight to Reddit to look up the L thing.
The one thing that I found like really interesting coming out of the Tiger King is like I remember seeing a thread where people were discussing it because I unfortunately went really toxic really quickly.
Yeah,
but it was asking the legitimate question, which is why are more people annoyed at Carol Baskin than they are at everyone else in the show who are definitively worse than she is?
This is true. I will have to say though, right? I admire Joe Exotic. He is the ultimate libertarian.
Yeah, and
if I had that money, I would be like that. Without all the madness, but I would have tigers.
Yeah, without all the meth.
And I'd have all the guns.
and seducing straight men to be gay with meth.
Well, it all just comes part of it. We don't
He
discriminate.
truly was not trying to hide what he was.
He's the most honest person I've ever seen. I'm like, I'd vote for you to be president because you are the ultimate libertarian.
But it's like, like he's like that bit better than Doc. What's his name? The guy who had his sex cult.
Doc Antle.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, that guy was nuts.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah. Oh man, what's weird thing about it is though, right? All the tigers look really happy outside of Carol's place, and you're like, how does the meth head and your man with the sex cult have happier tigers than you do in the wildlife reserve? It's like it doesn't make sense.
It's because the ones that are in her place have seen stuff. It's the rescue one.
That's fair. I don't know, man. It's the wildest show ever. We've all seen it, haven't we?
Yeah, dipping in and out.
Yeah, but just bits.
Man. Oh yeah, no. I'm probably going to.
It's more the memes. I think the memes are better than the actual show.
You know what?
No, the memes are pretty great.
When this quarantine thing started, right? The whole "Hello, crazy cat and kittens." I'm like, what? Is that what people say in business meetings? I haven't heard that yet. And then I watched it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense now. I just thought your woman was like the face of like just general working from home. It's like no, this makes sense. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's like when you watch. It's like when you're a kid and you watch Simpsons episodes and you don't really get the references, and then you see
Stanley Kubrick,
Citizen Kane as a teenager adult, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's Citizen Kane and all the Stanley Kubrick stuff, and you're like, oh my god, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize it's seen 80% of Citizen Kane until I sat down and watched Citizen Kane, and I was just like, Simpsons.
Just a whole bunch of Simpsons episodes.
But here's the thing, though. One thing that does like, cause, like usually the Simpsons, Simpsons did it, and it usually predicts your like education into the world. Except for when they tell a joke and you don't know it's a joke. For example, and I've talked about this before, when it lied to me that we're all a bunch of crazy guys and dolls isn't a song that's in Guys and Dolls. I thought it was a song for years. But so
always comes back to Guys and Dolls.
But so did my friend. And then we went and did the musical where we did the music for it, and we got the music sheets and we're looking for it and it's not there. And then we're like, why isn't Guys and Dolls there?
We're missing a sheet.
I did a production of it where the director wanted us to open with it.
It should
and then
be
just
in
have
it.
And then just have someone run in mid-scene going, "It's not in the play," and just move on.
It should be in it. I'm sorry. That whoever wrote that, they should like make them do it again. Like,
just rewrite it.
Exactly. You made a mistake.
But they just like took stock score from The Simpsons and then just put lyrics over it for Guys and Dolls.
No, it's the "Hooray for Hollywood" song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's what it is, and this is like, but anyway, like actually there was a good book for anyone who hasn't read, like catching up on The Simpsons, because I'm going back and watched some episodes of it, and there's a good book called Zombie Simpsons, but also How Simpsons Took Over the World, or Planet Simpsons. I'd recommend that for you guys actually, because it breaks down its whole like rise to power, and then it's like gradual to fall. It's very good.
That sounds awesome.
But Zombie Simpsons is better again if you really want to get into why the show started being terrible.
Well, I
And
mean,
When they
like,
stopped being funny, that's when it became terrible.
It just
They
got
lost
really
a bunch
stale.
of their writers. That's it.
Yeah.
I think that Disney has actually copped onto that though, because even on Disney Plus now they're like categorizing Simpsons episodes.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
Yeah.
they have different things. So they have like a whole section of Simpsons predicts,
Oh,
you know,
no way.
and
They
things
started-
like, you know, movies and that kind of thing.
It reminded me of those like VHS collections you'd find.
Yes,
in, like,
that's what it sounds
Yeah.
like.
an extra of like, here's all the travel episodes and here's all the musical
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah, they've actually started doing it like that.
Well, that
Yeah.
makes
There was-
sense.
There was a cool thing as well I saw on Reddit where someone had taken every single IMDb episode rating for every episode and just put it into like into a plot, and like the first bad episode was in season
9?
6. No,
Oh.
season 6 because it was a clip show.
Oh, God.
And then the last good episode was in season 12.
Oh.
That's... I don't know.
Yeah.
Look,
No,
I,
as in like there's an individual blip of a good episode in season 12.
right.
And that's it. Like, so I think the mediocre episodes started in season 9, but there were still good episodes, and then like there was the same kind of, and then there was just like less good episodes, more mediocre episodes going into season 10, and then there was all mediocre episodes, and I think some bad episodes in season.
Guys, you know what we should
11
do?
and so on.
Because we all love The Simpsons, right? Like,
Mhm.
unhealthily amount.
Yeah.
We should do a special where we just have our top Simpsons episodes.
Yes!
Scorpio.
Ooh.
We should do
Oh.
that.
Yeah.
And what we do is
Yeah.
we'll open it up to everyone listening now. Send in your favorite Simpsons episodes to nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com, and we'll set it up and we'll do it. Because what a better way to end the show than to set up a future one, but talking about The Simpsons, it just always ends up in The Simpsons or Star
Yeah.
Wars. So,
Or TNA Impact if we're talking about wrestling.
yes.
You're just encouraging my binging now. Like, you're not helping me at all.
Oh, that was my intention, because you know it's just, it's binge TV time. Let's just set up. I tell you what, 10 each.
Oh man,
Top
Ooh,
10.
But there's like
okay.
30 seasons.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
like 8
Top
good
10.
ones.
Because here's the thing, though, right? If we went for the full thing, we'd be here all day. But 10 each, lads, that's 60 if we're all here.
but we're also there's going to be crossover.
Oh,
There
definitely.
absolutely
Yeah.
is.
Couldn't we just do it like a season at a time or something?
Well, okay. Would you rather?
No, 10 ever.
Okay.
Well, I mean, what if we did like, you know, a season discuss and then at the end do your top 10?
Okay, let's do that.
In that season?
Okay, let's watch a season at a time, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, yeah. Let's do that. Okay,
Woo!
I like that
What
idea.
season do we start with?
Well, season 1, I guess.
Okay,
We'll do seasons 1 to 10.
Yeah, just do them in order.
1 to 12.
Okay, 1 to 12.
1 to 12. Yep. All right. Okay, that's it. And guys, if you
That's
want
the
to get
next 3 months planned.
yeah, that's true. That was easy.
Literally.
That was easy. So look, what I say is, if you guys want to get involved, listening at home, do send in your favorite Simpsons episodes, any trivia or anything you want to talk about, and we'll get that going. But yeah, so from next week on, we're going to be talking about season 1, I guess, of The Simpsons. So
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. So with that added, let's round out the show. Is there anything you would like to plug, Bryn?
Yeah, the real quick thing I'm going to plug is I am super excited to see the next release of Ubuntu, which is coming out on the 23rd of
Right.
this month, 2004. It's out. There's a beta out, but the full release will be out that date, and I cannot wait to update and see what it's like, because there's a bunch of new features that are going to come in, and it sounds like it's going to be pretty good. So
Speaking of which, if you guys want to help fight the coronavirus and you're a bit of a nerd, even if you're not a nerd, there's a project called Folding at Home, which helps map the genome of COVID-19. And you can just install it on your home computer, on your laptop, on a Raspberry Pi, on your phone, and that's how you do it. So it's a small thing you can do, and it's in Ubuntu as well. So Folding at Home is how you do it. So that's pretty cool, man. I'm going to try to download that for myself. I'm trying to get Ubuntu on my Raspberry Pi. It's not going great, but we'll see what happens.
yeah,
Lisa, anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, if it's all right. Straight Outta Canto has been doing a side project radio show called the Venus de Milo Show, Retro Horror Radio, just for the month of April, just for the lockdown. It's a 4-part ye olde style kind of horror radio play show that's quite short and I have 2 more episodes left. So if you guys want to listen to that, it's just because nobody can kind of go out on Friday night and do cool things. So I'm kind of trying to bring like the spooky Friday night into your home.
I've checked it out. It's very entertaining. I love the old school feel of it. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Katie, anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I'm just gonna plug my Instagram, which is at Mannequin Blue, which is it's understaffed at the minute just because I'm working on my home office. But once that's all sorted out, there'll be more content. Hopefully I'll get back into YouTube, and I'm saying this now because it'll force me to do it.
Awesome. That sounds great. And Kev, anything you'd like to plug, dude?
Not really. No, I'm just a dude. I just live here. I'm just hunkering down.
Right
He's
on.
just part of the furniture.
And yeah, Keen will be back next week. We have a lot of things coming up, guys. The new website should be launching either tomorrow. Well, actually, when this goes out in Phoenix, it will already be launched. Go over to nerdtoknowmedia.com. Check out our social medias. That's how you get to keep in contact with us. So from everybody on the team, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.